Hello everyone, welcome back. It's Foot Forecast. In today's video, I'm going to be going for my Premier League predictions for Game Week 37, and we're right at the end of the season now. And I'm also going to be discussing my FA Cup final prediction. So let's start with the first game, which is between Aston Villa and Liverpool. And this is two sides that are fighting for top 5. If either side wins this game, they would confirm top 5. Villa are currently 5th place in the Premier League. Liverpool are in 4th. And both sides are underperforming right now. Aston Villa have only won 1 out of their last 5 games in all competitions, and that was against Forest. It was a really good win against Forest, winning 4-0 in the Europa League. But apart from that, they've had some poor results against Spurs, against Burnley, and against Fulham. Looking at Liverpool, it's not much better. Liverpool picked up 2 wins from their last 5 games against Palace and Everton, but then they've had a couple of poor results. They were really poor in their last game against Chelsea, and this could be a very difficult game for Liverpool, especially considering the lack of attackers that Liverpool do have to call on right now. Isak does appear to be back, but Ekitike is still out for a long time, and Mo Salah is still injured, and Liverpool just playing with no confidence right now at all. The manager slot is still under pressure, despite it appearing that he will be the manager next season. For this game, I think there'll be goals between these two sides on the Friday night. I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw between these two sides. I think neither side wins, which means that top 5 will not be secured for either side. If I had to pick a winner in this game, I think I'd go with Villa under lights at Villa Park. The atmosphere will probably be really good for that game, considering it will be all about fighting for top 5 for Villa. So I'm on to the next game, and it's actually the FA Cup final between Chelsea and Manchester City. Manchester City are definitely the favourites going into this game. They're in a much better form. They've won 4 out of their last 5 games, and they're still competing for a Premier League title. Chelsea are in terrible form right now. Their only win in their last 5 was in the FA Cup semi-final against Leeds. What I would say about Chelsea is they do have this ability to potentially turn up in these big games. They did that in the FA Cup semi-final against Leeds, where I think a lot of people thought they might end up losing that game. They won against Barcelona early in the season, but it's hard to see Chelsea winning this game. They're just nowhere near good enough going into this game, and Chelsea have an interim manager, and he's going up against one of the greatest managers of all time in Pep Guardiola. So for this reason, I have to go with the City win. I'm going to go with a 2-0 win for Manchester City over Chelsea. I think it'll be reasonably comfortable in this game. It was also worth noting that both sides have some injury problems going into this. Garnacho, Esteban, Gittins and Neto are all out for Chelsea, and they all play on the wing, which resulted in Palmer and Cucurella being the wingers on the weekend for Chelsea. And for Manchester City, Kushinov and Rodri are potentially out, and Vardiel definitely is out. But those injuries for City won't impact them as much as the injuries of Chelsea, as they have a lot better depth. And Chelsea overall are just a way worse side than City right now. So I'm on to the next game, and it's between Manchester United and Forest, and it's already been confirmed Manchester United will be in the top 5 next season, and they'll be returning to the Champions League, and it looks like they'll also finish in the top 3. So it's been a good season for United, and going into this game against Forest, you would make United favourites. They did just have a disappointing little draw against Sunderland, but previously they picked up 3 wins in their last 3 games, and someone that we're really keen to play well in this game is Bruno Fernandes, who needs 1 more assist to tie the record for 20 assists in a season, and obviously to win it. What is also worth noting about Manchester United is that they do score a lot of goals. In the last game against Sunderland, it was the first time in 23 games that they hadn't scored in a game, so they've been good going forward this season, have Manchester United. Looking at Forest have had a really good finish this season, which has secured Premier League safety for the next season. They can no longer be relegated. And recently they've really started to pick up some form, but they will be frustrated with their last couple of results away at Villa Park and against Newcastle United at home, as well as Forest also have quite a few injury concerns going into this. Morgan Gibbs-White looks like he'll still be out with that facial injury. Hudson-Odoi is still potentially out, as well as Murillo Olaina is also a concern. So that's quite a few injuries for Forest, and Sangare could potentially be out. Looking at Manchester United, there's two players that are potentially out. The first one is Sesko, and the second one is De Ligt. But both of those players are pretty replaceable for Manchester United. And for this reason, I think they'll win this game. I'm going to go with a 3-1 win for United over Forest. So I'm on to the next game, and it's between Brentford and Crystal Palace. Brentford have dropped off recently with only one win in their last 5 games, and that was against West Ham, which has resulted in them sliding down the table a bit into 8th place. But because not a lot of sides are winning around them, they've still got a really good chance of getting into Europe. And if they win this game, chances are they would be in Europe next season with Brentford, which would be an incredible season for them. And they're going up against a Palace side that are prioritising other competitions. For Palace, that is in Europe, the Europa Conference League, which has resulted in their form taking a bit of a hit in the Premier League. In their last 3 Premier League games, they've only picked up 1 point. So I think this game, I would make Brentford favourites. They'll have a lot more focus going into this game. So for that reason, I'm going to go with a 2-1 win for Brentford over Crystal Palace. Palace will probably be better in this game than they have been in a couple of recent games because they don't have a midweek European game, but I think Brentford will just have enough to get over the line. So I'm on to the next game, and it's between Everton and Sunderland. And going into this game, Everton must be so disappointed because it looked like they were in a real chance of finishing in the Europa League, but they've slipped down the table to 10th place after 5 games without a win. And Everton's problem recently has been conceding quite a few late goals. In their 3 previous games before the Crystal Palace one, they conceded goals in the 90th minute or beyond. And in the Crystal Palace game, they conceded a goal in the 77th minute. So they've got to cut that out because they're often holding leads, or they're at least level, but then they're conceding late on, which is costing them in games. And that's a huge reason why they've started to struggle. As well as this, they do have some players out which are important for them. That is, Idrissa Gana Gueye is potentially out, Braithwaite is out, and Jack Grealish is out. Looking at Sunderland are actually only a point behind Everton. They've had a really good season, but they haven't won in their last 4 games. So neither side is in great form going into this. And I am tempted by the draw, but I think Everton find a way to get the job done at home. I'm going to go with a 2-1 win for Everton. I think this time it's going to be a late goal for Everton instead of a late goal against them. So I'm on to the next game, which is between Leeds and Brighton. Leeds have already secured Premier League safety. They've now actually moved up to 14th place in the Premier League. It's been a very good season for Leeds after coming up from the Championship. And their recent form is very good. They've taken 11 points from their last 5 games. Overall, Premier League safety has been pretty safe for them, which is a great achievement for them. Looking at Brighton have started to pick up their form recently as well. They've taken 10 points from their last 5 games, and they're in a good chance of Europe right now. They're currently in 7th place. One more win would pretty much secure Europe, as they'd probably finish in the top 8, which looks like it will be enough this season. And do I see them winning away at Leeds? I think it's going to be a difficult game for them. Going away to Leeds isn't easy. And for this reason, I think I'm going to go with a draw between Leeds and Brighton. I'm going to go with a 1-1. What I would say is that Leeds could be on the beach, which could play into Brighton's hands, but I still think they'll be up for this at home as they have been all season. So on to the next game, which is between Wolves and Fulham. Wolves are already relegated from the Premier League, and their recent form shows a side that's been relegated. Only 1 point in their last 5 games. And in that game, the opposition, Sunderland, had 10 men for majority of it. Looking at Fulham have only picked up 4 points from their last 5 games, so neither side is in great form going into this. But this is the perfect time for Fulham to pick up their form. I think Fulham will be disappointed with the end to the season. They look like they had a really good chance of Europe, but they just haven't put a run of games together. But I think in this game, they do find a positive result. I'm going to go with a 3-1 away win for Fulham over Wolves. So on to the next game, which is between Newcastle and West Ham. This is a crucial game for West Ham. I feel they probably need a win in this game to keep survival hopes alive for West Ham. And it's not the worst side to be going up against in Newcastle, who have been poor all season. They have picked up 4 points in their last 5 games, but before that they couldn't find any points. No wins in their last 5 games. So they aren't in great form, but the key for Newcastle is the return of Bruno G. Newcastle are just a different side when Bruno G is playing. But despite this, part of me thinks West Ham may find a way out of desperation to pick up a win away at St James's. Their recent form for West Ham isn't bad. They picked up 7 points from their last 5 games, but they have lost their last 2. But in this one, I think they find a way. I think I'm actually going to go with the West Ham win. This is my sort of out there prediction for the weekend. I'm going to go with a 3-2 win for West Ham over Newcastle. I think there's going to be goals in this game because I think West Ham will feel they have to win this. Newcastle might as well have a go because it is the end of the season. So I think that's why we're going to get quite a few goals in this one. So then on to the next game, which is between Arsenal and Burnley. And if you're Arsenal, this is the perfect game to get. You're going up against a Burnley side who are already relegated and have only picked up 1 point in their last 5 games. That point was against Aston Villa, but it doesn't take away from the shocking form that they've been on recently, as you would expect from a relegated side. And I'm trying to look at this in a way of maybe this is where Burnley could get at Arsenal, but I just can't see it. It's got an Arsenal win written all over it. If they were to lose this, it would be one of the bottles of all time, or even if they were to drop points, it'd be like that Southampton game from 3 years ago, and I just can't see it happening at all. I think this is going to be a battering by Arsenal. And the reason why I say this is because they'll be desperate to score as many goals to increase that goal difference. And for this reason, I'm going to go with a 4-0 win for Arsenal over Burnley. I think they're just going to absolutely batter them. Arsenal's recent form in all competitions has improved a lot since that defeat away at the Etihad. So on to the next game. We've got some catch-up games to cover. The first one is between Bournemouth and Manchester City. This could be where Arsenal potentially win the title. And I do look at this game and I think they definitely could drop points, could City, because Bournemouth are on an incredible run right now. They haven't lost since early January. It's absolutely outstanding from Bournemouth, and their recent form is great as well. They've picked up 13 points in their last 5 games, and they're currently chasing Europe. A win here would most likely secure Europa League football and it'd give them a real chance at Champions League football if Liverpool or Villa drop points, or if Villa actually win in the Europa League. Then 6th place would get Champions League football, which is the position that Bournemouth currently occupy. So they've got all the momentum going into this one. In terms of some injury concerns, Christie is suspended, but they do have players to replace Christie. Looking at Manchester City, their form going into this is good. They've taken 13 points from their last 5 games, but there was one concerning result, and that was the draw away at Everton. And I could see a very similar game between these two sides. I think City are going to struggle a lot in this, and they're going to have to go for the win. So for this reason, I think Bournemouth will be able to catch them on the break a couple of times. So I'm actually going to go with a 2-2 draw between these two sides. And if this happens, this would secure the title for Arsenal if they win at home to Burnley. So I'm on to the final game, and it's between Chelsea and Spurs. And in theory, Chelsea have nothing to play for going into this. But in reality, I think Chelsea have quite a lot to play for. They will be desperate to potentially send Spurs down. And this is a big game for Spurs going into it. A win here could secure Premier League football for next season if results go their way, which is a ridiculous statement, the fact we're even saying this, but that is the current predicament that Spurs are in, and they've got a lot of injury concerns, do Spurs. Kulusevski's out, Kudus is out, Odobert is out, Vicario is out, Romero is out, Simmons is out, Solanke is out. The injury list is absolutely absurd, but there is one key player that's returned, and that is James Maddison, who got 20 minutes in the game against Leeds, so I wouldn't be surprised if he starts this one away at the Bridge, as he may be fully fit to now play, and I think they will risk him considering it's such a big game, which is big for Spurs because they have missed Maddison all season. And can I see Spurs winning this game away at Stamford Bridge? Well, their recent form is actually better than Chelsea. They haven't lost in their last 4 and they've taken 8 points in their last 5. But I just don't think Spurs win this game. I think Chelsea are going to be desperate to ruin Spurs' season and potentially send them down. And their record at the Bridge is absolutely shocking. So for this reason, I'm going to go with a 3-1 win for Chelsea over Spurs. I think Chelsea are going to really turn up in this game, as they've done in the past with that Hazard moment against them, which won Leicester the title. So that is the end of this video, where I've gone through my Premier League predictions for Game Week 37, plus my FA Cup final prediction. If you enjoyed this video, it'd be great if you subscribe to the YouTube channel, as well as liking the video.